the hard part about getting fired or a big loss or my company shut down or whatever it is, we tend to go inside. We
Mhm.
tend to insulate and isolate, and we don't want to tell anybody about it. We don't want to have discussions about it. But I think the fastest way to move forward progress is getting help. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily, what are we talking about today?
Today we have a question.
Okay, let's dive in.
I was recently fired, and I'm honestly not sure what to do next.
Mm.
It came out of nowhere, and now I feel lost. What are the next steps to even figure out what the next steps are?
I do like the honesty of that last question. What are the next steps to figure out next
What do I do
steps?
now to figure out what I do now?
As I was thinking about this question, it's interesting to me that I think one of the biggest keys to overcoming a big loss like that is you've got to get back up and have some kind of forward motion, even if it's tiny.
Right.
What I find is the people that are able to move forward inevitably point back to getting fired and go, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And the ones that can't move forward, that remain mired in, look what happened to me, the kind of victim mentality of I can't believe this, they stay stuck in that so long that it starts to affect their career. They're never able to look back and go, that was good. They look back and go, look at this injustice. Look at how bad this was.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a big ask.
It's really tough. It is, but it's interesting. Like, I've been fired before. I was laid off once. I had one time a company I was helping build was sold to somebody else, and I just decided I didn't want to work for them. But it felt like I got fired, even though I didn't. It was every time that's happened, there's this like mourning period, right? There's this, what's wrong with me? What's broken inside me? And that's tough. That's hard to recover
when you have
from.
that story, I mean, it's pretty easy to think that
Yes.
fired or like I did something wrong to make this happen.
Yes, it is. And especially, and this was early in my career, in my 20s, when also, by the way, I had a new family. I had a wife, I had a son.
Well, that's
so
all
now
you're
I'm
worried
supporting
about. I'm
people,
providing, like
and
I
I'm
can't.
trying to provide. And so at that time, that was really tough. But it's funny, every time that has happened, I can point back to it and go, oh, that was really valuable. I needed that, and I didn't even know it. But I think getting unstuck from that really requires that perspective of, hey, this is something you can point back to in the future and see that it was good. But it takes moving forward. It takes making progress.
Right.
And that's hard for us to do. And I think one of the things is the vulnerability to get help, to say, hey, I need help. And I think there's the hard part about getting fired or a big loss or my company shut down or whatever it is, we tend to go inside. We tend to insulate and isolate, and we don't want to tell anybody about it. We don't want to have discussions about it. But I think the fastest way to move forward progress is getting help.
Right, because I think people look at this as a mistake, right? If I screwed up, I don't want to share it. The same way that if you made a mistake doing anything, you're like, well, if I just keep this to myself, no one will know that I'm a complete failure. Like we put this in like big mountain terms when it's really just a smaller.
Yeah,
I mean, it still sucks. Like it's still a huge loss.
It does. It is a huge loss. And I think that's the whole point of this is, how do you overcome big losses? There are those big things that are going to happen to us in life, in our careers especially. But overcoming it requires eventually overcoming that internal voice that says there's something really wrong with you, and people are going to shame you. They're going to blame you if they find out about it. Overcoming that internal voice is kind of that first step. And often that requires people,
Well, yeah.
to reach out to
that
people.
would be helpful if there was other.
Well, and really what that requires is the vulnerability to say, hey, I need help. I need, like, here's what happened. Can you help me? Even just somebody to process with, somebody to talk to, somebody to figure out next steps.
So good news, since you asked this question, you're already taking that first step.
Exactly. Like, just asking how do we discover next steps is huge, because it really is. Once you see those steps, you are far more likely to take them.
Right.
And that's where the forward momentum comes in. And it may be small progress, but it's progress. And you can hang your hat on that. You go, okay, I'm not stuck in this. And I think getting unstuck from that is the key. It's almost like you've fallen into you've fallen into quicksand, right? Growing up, again, the meme is that we thought quicksand was going to be a bigger part of our lives, and we never run into it now. But you've fallen into this quicksand, and the goal is you got to get out as fast as you can, because the longer you're in there, the deeper you're going to sink. And sinking into that ultimately you can become so stuck that there's almost no hope of getting out. And so you're immediately looking for, how do I get out of this? Ultimately you're looking for a vine you could hold on to and pull yourself out. But really that vine is going to often be other people.
Definitely.
It's going to be the vulnerability to say, this happened, I need help. What are my next steps?
Right. And that conversation you can think of things and have ideas that you wouldn't have maybe come up sitting on your own, like having
100% you will. And what's really interesting is they will give perspective, because when you're vulnerable enough to say, I need help, there are people that are going to go, I would love to help you. It happens all the time. And so to seek out that help, they're going to give you proper perspective on, here's some things you might should have thought about. And also here's some next steps. Here's some people to talk to and help you think through that. So I think progress is the key. Getting the progress requires people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we've got to work on is the ability to set that shame aside long enough to get that help we need.
Yeah, I agree.
Leaders, let's talk next steps. You're going to have a big loss in your life. There's no getting around it. I don't know anybody that has built anything that matters that wasn't built on learning from loss. And so you're going to lose a job. You're going to lose a business. You're going to lose things in life. Getting up from that is what's key. Get up, make forward progress. And a part of that is having the vulnerability to ask for help. And the beauty of this is if you can build that muscle before a big loss, you can head some of those losses off the past.
Practice.
Exactly. Like to get help from other people ahead of time is so helpful. So start deploying that vulnerability now. And if you found yourself in the middle of that big loss and you just cannot see next steps, reach out to somebody. They will help you find clarity and perspective to find those next steps. And if you're in a position where you witness somebody have a big loss, try to be a resource for them. See what you can do to help them find next steps. Emily, thanks for bringing this question to us. Thanks for this conversation. If people want to send us more questions, where do they do that?
lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find us online, we're putting out social media content about leadership all the time. Where do they find that?
@forwardpartner.
@forwardpartner, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.
John, thank you for producing. And thank you for watching, listening, and sharing this with fellow leaders. We will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.